Now, I said at the beginning of the program today how obtaining finance is one of the biggest problems for small business, and our callers to the open line have certainly verified their experiences in line with that. Getting whacked by the big banks when they're the ones employing people is unfair. More than 90% of Australian businesses are small businesses. They employ more than 40% of the workforce and account for more than 30% of the country's GDP. In fact, only 3% of Australian business have 20 or more employees, just 3%. So we're talking about a big, vital sector. Well, today the federal government is announcing what's been described as a $2 billion pitch to small business. It's called the Australian Business Securitisation Fund, and it aims to lower the cost of borrowing for small business. About time. We're told the fund will invest in small and medium enterprise credit with the aim of providing more competition to the big four banks, which currently account for more than 80% of business loans worth $2 million or less, and which charge small firms up to 4 percentage points more, purely because they're a small business. They're the ones that should be getting the discount. They employ people. Now, Treasurer Josh Frydenberg and Small Business Minister Michaela Cash say small business find it difficult to obtain finance other than on a secured basis, typically against real estate. They say even when small business can access finance, funding costs are higher than they need to be. The $2 billion federal investment will go into the securitisation market and provide what the government describes as significant additional funding to smaller banks and non-bank lenders to on-lend to smaller businesses on more competitive terms. Let's hope that this can come true and quick. The Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, is on the line right now. Treasurer, welcome to the program.
Good to be with you, Chris.
Where did this idea come from?
Look, this is an idea that the government has been working on for some time. Indeed, Scott Morrison, in his previous role as Treasurer, was working with key stakeholders on this when he was in that role. And Australia's 3 million small businesses are the engine room of the Australian economy, and for them to be strong, Chris, they need access to affordable finance.
Yeah.
But as you say, a lot of them are struggling to get that finance today, and when they do, they're either having to put up their own home as collateral, or they're paying rates that are higher than if somebody was merely seeking a home loan.
So the dirty big banks have them over a barrel?
The banks certainly have this market cornered, with more than 80% of the loans to small business for under $2 million.
It's called the Australian Business Securitisation Fund. Not the world's most exciting name, Josh.
Well, the securitisation markets are quite complex. And what this basically means is that after loans are made by small lenders, including banks that are outside the big four, they are repackaged and sold on to investors to manage their risk. But that market is very immature and underdeveloped here in Australia, and this is where the government will be coming in.
Okay.
It will be using the $2 billion to enter the securitisation market, Chris, which we did previously with residential mortgages in 2008.
Labor did that, right?
Just after the GFC.
Labor did that, right?
They did.
Okay. So what sorts of differences are you expecting there to be in terms of the cost of money for small business?
Well, as you indicated, the Productivity Commission has identified a gap of up to 4 percentage points between the rates that are charged to small businesses with secured loans and the rates that are charged to people with home mortgages. We want to bring that 4 percentage points down to narrow that gap, so it could make quite a significant difference to small businesses.
Specifically, you want to bring it down to what?
Well, we want to bring it down as much as possible. I'd like there to be no gap between the loans that are made to small businesses and the loans that are made to home lenders.
Where is the $2 billion coming from to finance this?
We are using the Australian Office of Financial Management, which sits within Treasury, that you will use the government's balance sheet to deploy this $2 billion over time.
You wouldn't be throwing $2 billion into this if you didn't think it will work, because if it does work, you're going to find that small business goes to the next level in their sector. whatever that sector might be, that they'll employ more people, that you'll get plenty of taxable income revenue into the coffers. So that's what you're expecting, are you?
We're certainly expecting it to help strengthen the economy because small business is just so important. You might remember nearly 70 or more than 70 years ago, Sir Robert Menzies spoke of the forgotten people. They were the shopkeepers, the artisans, the farmers. He described them as the small business people that were the backbone of the economy. That was as true more than 70 years ago as it is true today, and that's why the Coalition under Scott Morrison stands ready to help them in every single way we can, including the tax cuts, which we recently got through the Parliament, which are worth more than $40 billion and will make a real difference to their bottom line.
And you're right, people should not forget that. But what about, once again specifically, I can hear small business men and women saying right now as they listen to you, so what do I do? What's going to be involved to getting access to this money? Am I going to have to jump through, 10 million hoops or fill in 50 different forms to get access?
Well, where they'll see the difference is when they're engaging with the lenders. The smaller banks that are not the big four and the smaller lenders. Those operators will be able to offer lower rates of interest than they otherwise would because the Commonwealth will have entered into the securitisation market. Now, we need legislation to make this happen, and we'll be introducing that into the Parliament, and we hope to have bipartisan support.
Okay, you've still got to watch your P's and Q's in terms of ensuring that people don't fritter away these loans and down the track can't pay them off. So you've got to be careful. It's a fine edge here, isn't it?
It's very important for your listeners to understand the government is not the body that is directly engaging with the small business to make the loan. The lenders and the smaller banks will still be the front of house with those small businesses. But what we will be doing is we will be in the securitisation market, which will enable those lenders to offer more competitive rates of interest to their small businesses.
Okay, the other question I can hear vibrating in my headphones is, when will this be up and running? When will it start? Less talk, more action.
Well, it will be up and running in the new year, but I want to emphasise again, this is just one of the measures that we have announced and are implementing to reduce the pressures on small business.
What part of the new year?
Well, we'll introduce it into into the Parliament in the early sitting weeks of the new year, and then its passage depends on getting the support of the opposition or the crossbenchers, whatever it may be in the Parliament. But again, we recently legislated the tax cuts. That will make a difference. That's now law. We've announced changes to employee share ownership schemes to double those opportunities available to employees to share in the growth of the business. And the instant asset write-off, the $20,000 instant asset write-off, has already been taken up by more than 300,000 small businesses. Wow. And again, that's making a difference. So we have a suite of measures, Chris, that is backing small business because that is core business for Liberal and national governments.
Thank you for your time this morning.
Always good to be with you.
Okay, Federal Treasurer Josh Frydenberg.